The key to learning how to cook with spices, whether they're whole or ground, is to do it consistently, to find more spices that you like and just use them over and over and over again. The best way to do that is to start with really easy, really simple recipes that really don't have any other learning curve so you can focus on the spices. And that's what this recipe is. What we're gonna do today is make a simple rice pilaf, and it's a little different than how you would normally make rice, because you know when you make white rice, you basically put it in a pot with water, bring it to a boil, take it off, let it steam. But because we're going to be doing a pilaf method, which comes from the Middle East, we're going to fry the rice first. And what this does is it allows you to bring a little bit more flavor to the rice. It makes it a little bit more nutty, makes the flavor a little bit more robust. So what we're going to do is we've got our pan here. It's heating up. And we're going to add a little bit of oil, probably 2 or 3 tablespoons. Now, once you add your oil, you want it to come up to a shimmer. And that sounds a little confusing. But basically what it is if you look at the surface of the oil, it will actually start to ripple and shimmer a little bit. Like when you first pour the oil into a cold pan, it'll just be smooth. But if you stand back and look at it, you'll actually see little ripples starting to appear in the oil. And that's perfect. That's when we want to add our rice. So it's just about rippling right now. Alrighty, it's looking good. So we're going to add our rice. Basically, you want to fry the rice until it develops a really nutty aroma. The rice may brown a little bit. It takes a long time to brown dry rice, so that's not really what you're looking for. You're going to use your nose for all of this. So you're just going to keep frying and keep agitating it a little bit. Make sure all of the rice is covered with oil. And once that's the case, then you're just going to let it sit there. And occasionally you're going to smell it. It's actually already starting to smell kind of nutty. But what you want is to make sure that all of the rice is fried. And what you'll see is the rice, when it's first coated with the oil, will look a little transparent. You can see what it looks like now. But the longer it stays in the pan and the hotter it gets and the more it fries, the rice will actually begin to look more opaque. It'll start to change color just a little bit. But really what you're looking for is that smell, that nuttiness, that like cooked aroma that smells like, oh, this smells really tasty. So I'm going to smell it again. Okay, yeah, it's starting to smell good. It smells like rice. And we're just going to keep doing this for, maybe 2 to 3 minutes until it's all done. Okay, it's been frying for about 3 minutes now, and it's got an incredible nutty aroma going on. And I'm going to turn this to see if you can see it. You'll see that some of the grains of rice are actually starting to brown on the bottom. You'll see they're becoming a little bit more opaque, and they've got actually some brown going on. That's what you're looking for. You're never going to get the whole thing to turn super, super brown, so don't even bother trying. You'll just end up burning it. But if you can get like a nice layer of some of them with good color on them, they'll flavor the whole thing. So now what we're going to do is we want to really quickly stop the cooking because once they start to brown, they're on the verge of burning. So we're going to immediately add our water. Woo! Hello. I just got a free facial. Whew. Alrighty, so we've got our water in here. And this is probably the most important thing when you're making rice, and this is salt. You need to salt your rice pretty generously. And then that's all mixed in. We're going to add our spices. So we're adding 1 cinnamon stick. We're adding 3 cardamom pods. Come here, little guys. These are cardamom pods. They're just like little tiny pods with cardamom seeds inside of them. And if you shake them, you can actually hear them rattling. They sound like little jumping beans. We're just gonna put them in whole. And the good thing about using these like larger spices like the pods and the cinnamon stick is that you can easily pull them out later. And so this is ground cumin. We're gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon. And we're gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of ground coriander. These are some really common Indian spices. They're savory, but they still have sort of a sweet smell to them, and they smell amazing. We're gonna mix those guys in. And then what we're gonna do now is we're gonna bring this to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, we're gonna remove it from the heat and we're gonna cover it and we're gonna let it sit. But before we cover it, we're gonna add probably my most favorite part of this rice pilaf. And you can leave this part out if you don't like, but I like to add raisins. And you can add, you know, these raisins or golden raisins. Golden raisins might be a little bit more Middle Eastern in their flavor profile, but this is what I got, so this is what we're getting. And these raisins are gonna plump up in the rice and make it a little sweet, and they're gonna be delicious because they're also gonna have that like spicy season. It's not spicy like hot spicy, but seasoned as in like it uses spices. And another thing worth noting is if you find that the frying step is a little too fussy for you or you just don't have time, it's fine. You actually don't need to do it. In that case, you would just literally dump everything in this pan, the rice, the water, the raisins, and all the spices, bring it to a boil, and then cover it, take it off the heat, just like you would regular rice. So we're gonna let this cook down for about 15 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and check it out. Okay, so our rice has been cooking for about 15 minutes. We brought it to a boil, covered it, took it off the heat, let it fluff. I noticed actually that it wasn't cooking as fast as I wanted it to, so I put it back on the stove at like really low heat, and then just kind of watched it to make sure all the water was evaporating and that the rice was at a really good texture, and it's all set. So let's take a look. Ta-da! Look at that. How beautiful is that? Like those raisins puffed up. Like the rice looks good. We're gonna taste it and make sure the rice is at the right texture. It's good, the salt is spot on. That's actually really good. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get rid of the big whole spices that we used because nobody wants to bite into a cardamom pod. Unless you really wanna play a joke on somebody and ruin their dinner, which actually I totally advocate for, so yay. And we're done. Like that's it. Like you can just serve it as is. It actually reheats really well too. So if you have it leftovers, you can throw it in the fridge and eat it the next day. So let's plate this guy up. Let's clear some space here, scoop it up and see how it looks. Yeah, that looks great. Wish you guys could smell this. It smells amazing. And because we used ground cumin and coriander, like it's got a little bit of color in there, and it gives it's more than just plain white rice. It actually has like a little bit more of a seasoned color. And that's it. Like it looks great, it tastes great, and this is a really easy side to throw together. You can make it while you're cooking something else, and it just kind of does its own thing on the side without really any work. And I highly recommend it if you're gonna be playing with spices. You can actually make this dish with any number of like Indian spices or even European spices. I would start playing with just like maybe 1 or 2 different spices together and see how they work, and then, build on it from there. And that's it.